Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's October 16th, 2018. We're here at 6:08 at City Hall, 116th West Bridge Street, Granbury, Texas. The Granbury City Council regular meeting is now called to order. I'd like to call upon Fred Orcutt to lead us in our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. All rise, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to call your attention to my formal attire and invite you all to be part of One Nation Under God on November the 4th. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Father, that's what we want. Your will to be done here on earth, here in Granbury. Lord, give Mayor Hewlett and each council member a heart that truly wants your will to be done here. May each of their wills be surrendered to yours for your glory and the benefit of the citizens of Granbury. May they understand that your will is the only one that matters. May they seek it and conform to it. Thank you for your goodness to Granbury and Hood County. Lord, be glorified in us. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Well, for anybody that attended the last council meeting, I promised to make this one a little shorter. Thanks for everybody being here tonight. We're going to move right on into the consent agenda, that being the consider awarding bid number 1718-07 for the purchase of a water treatment chemicals to the Eagle Labs Corporation, Southwestern Corporation, and there is, as you see, council, pretty good savings there that the staff has come up with, so glad that they found that. Number two is to consider awarding bid number 1718-09 to Superior Concrete Products based on their total bid amount of $78,875 for the replacement lift station number 14 and number 32 privacy fence. That's the fence over there at the Harbor Lakes that we've talked about, Council, and you had the quotes on that in your packet. Item number three was to consider approving the commercial lease and the show producer agreement between the City of Granbury and the Granbury Theater Company Corporation for the building located at 133 East Pearl Street, known for the fully as the Granbury Opera House. And once again, their new lease agreement has been in there. The attorney has looked this over. There has been a few changes that was listed in there, but those are all things that are taking the utilities out and some other things there. So with that said, Council, is there any items on there that you'd like to make changes to or to discuss or to take off of the consent agenda at this time?
Mayor, the only question I got is the minutes from the last meeting. Are they not ready? Or?
Well, Councilman Allen, I asked that same question, and you know, Carla works really, really hard, and like I said, we were here till about 11 o'clock, I think, and there was just not enough time to get all those on there, so they will be on the next meeting minutes.
No problem. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Any more discussion or things on the consent agenda that you'd like to talk about? If none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the said consent agendas.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Mobley and a second by Councilman Allen. Any more discussion, Council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Those consent agenda are approved. Next, we'll move into our deliberation agenda. We have one item here, and this item was put on by Councilperson Gary Couch to receive a report from the Lake Granbury Conference Center. And this was requested from Member Couch to review the 3-year history of the Conference Center and the status of implementation of its current strategic plan. I'm going to go right over here to Chris Kaufman because I think he's had an opportunity to do that. So, Chris, do you have any information for the council on this request here?
Yes, we did prepare those those reports for you, and they're in your packet, and have Michael to answer any questions y'all may have.
And one thing that may not have been in there, Councilman, is the cost of that study for the strategic plan was $18,500. And I can touch on anything else that you specifically would like, in addition to the financial information of the 3 years.
So Councilman, I think Councilman Couch, you have any more further questions on it, or?
Well, I was just kind of hoping for an update based on the plan that, I guess that was it November of last year?
December 18th was
Okay.
brought to you, yes, sir.
And there were 6 segments of targeted marketing areas, and there was a chart in there in which months or each segment should be accomplished. I know churches was one, and I was hoping that you could just kind of talk about where we are with those 6 segments.
Well, most important part of that is we finally hired the sales person that was part of the strategic plan recommendation. In addition to rolling out the new website, the $370,000 of AV improvements that the council approved that are in progress, the hiring, of course, of that operations manager was part of that strategic plan. And those dates, they were 2- and 3-year dates for rolling those various studies out, and the new sales executive has begun looking at those, but hasn't developed plans for those. What they've been trying to do is get the website completed. Kyle has, get those other key strategic, you had to prioritize based on the amount of manpower in the department. So that's what's been focused on specifically, is getting a salesperson hired, getting the sales bookings, which you can see in the comparative 3-year analysis. Fortunately, it's higher than it's been in the last 3 years, the amount of revenue coming in.
I might just add that being half-staffed, we've really done a good job bringing in a couple of events on our own that had nothing to do with anybody else, and that's responsible for some of those bookings that are there. And, you know, it's kind of been a 1- and 2-man show down there as far as the general management and the sales and the marketing. So hired Jennifer, and she's gearing up, fixing to hit the road. So,
and the event coordinator also was a turnover in the middle of this plan as well. So there were 2 key division positions missing up until the last 3 or 4 months. And so the preparing plans part of this overall strategic plan took a back seat to getting the website rolled out, to getting the name change done, to getting the AV approved, to improve all of that at the conference center, those key changes that the conference center needs, in our opinion, in order to attract the most immediate sales.
Okay.
Council, any more discussion on this item? This item is a discussion/report item. And thank you, staff, for putting this report together for us.
I got one for
Councilman
Mike.
Allen.
And this may, if this is not in the line of question that's on the agenda, forgive me, number 1, Mike, and number 2, Chris, tell me it's not part of it, or Mayor, and I'll hush. Is there a plan? What plan have y'all got in place for the new sales lady? Can we discuss that or not?
Well, it's really not a discussion item, but I'm sure Michael has a plan, or Chris
it's in the
has a plan.
strategic plan right here.
Yeah, the short answer, Councilman, would be they're going to begin, and she already has begun looking at those strategic initiatives, the planning parts of the strategic plan that takes sitting down and spending time. At the same time, we want her out on the road, and so there's a mixture of time there that we're trying to allocate. Of course, Kyle, that's something he is focused on as well, and I will be as well. Now that we've got all the people in the seats that can go do the day-to-day work in the field and at the office, we should be able to concentrate on these strategic planning efforts much more than we have over this past 11 months since the strategic plan, or 10 months, excuse me, since this was adopted by council.
And also, you know, the name change, the marketing changing all that administratively internal has been accomplished. All of our marketing pieces say like Granbury instead of
The rebranding, yes, sir.
The rebranding has occurred. So we've made some strides.
Those are key strides, I feel, that council wanted to see that we've accomplished. Website was huge. We've had bookings come straight from the website now that we're getting those calls. It's a very impressive site.
One last question, Mike,
Yes, sir.
and I know this is a real touchy question with our hotels, but you go back and look at the money that we have spent, through the hotels, and maybe we wouldn't have had them if they hadn't have brought them. I don't know. How many of those do you think with the program you got now that we can get without having to do the big volume discount to the hotels?
I'm not sure of the question. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Right now, if you bring in 100 people over 3 days, they get everything free.
Right,
Okay. That costs us money to do that,
right.
but we get their tax, hot tax, and we get their business in the restaurants, et cetera. So I know it pays off, but my question is, with the new program you got or the projections you think is going to happen now with the salesperson and everything, and I know it takes a year or two to get bookings like everybody's always said and believe. Do you think at the end of the tunnel, we'll be doing a lot of this ourselves and not depending on the hotels? And how much do you think it would save us a year after a couple of years?
Well, I think right on point, one of the things you can see from this 3-year comparison is that they've started to have a much tighter rein on those discounts and how they're applied. And what you'll see going forward in the near future is the next time the fees are revised is that we're going to have some tweaks to that fee schedule regarding room nights, because right now it's too loose and we're still not quite to the advantage that we could be in some of those. We can do better. We've had, for instance, and someone said we had 100 room nights, which is what gets you free conference rooms. But they had that over 9 days.
Yeah.
So we had a conference, we had that, and we had to honor it because that's what our language said. So that's one of the first kind of things we intend to change. We've already talked to Chris about changing in the very near future. So we only had one like that happen, but that's something we need to fix. We've learned from that.
Well, I have kind of visited with Chris a little bit about that, but I know the mayor and I was on here when that happened, and I'll be honest with you, up until the first time I seen a report on it, which was like a year later, I thought they had to have like 50 one night,
Right.
or 100 one night, and I didn't realize that could be over a 3 or 9 day course.
And that's the kind
I
of,
think that is something that the council should look at in the future.
Yeah.
That will, and don't want to make anybody mad, but again, we're spending a lot of money, or giving away a lot of money there.
right.
That would have got them here anyway, or can we bill it to that point we get them here? Then we need to start trying to save money on that end of it. And I think that's what you're saying.
Yes, sir. We think we need to maybe tie minimum number per night in
Yes.
addition to the total room nights
I
in
agree
order
with
to
you.
scale that down.
You working on that, Chris?
They're working on it.
You betcha.
Okay. They working on it.
They're
Okay.
already
Yes, sir.
Good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Hey, Mike,
Mike, I got another question.
I got one here real quick too. Are we still capturing the repeat groups out there? Are we capturing how many repeats we have? Do we chart that? We watch that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're tracking all that, and we've begun now with the sales hire. Kyle's got everyone that doesn't go through, a sales attempt that fails,
Right.
why it
Oh,
failed,
okay.
and we want to know all those as well. Why every sale did not occur, in addition to the ones that do occur.
Okay.
So that's being tracked now as well.
Councilman Couch?
Hey, Mike, just for clarification purposes, on the analysis or the marketing plan that we had done, is that something that is the roadmap for you and Kyle in implementing your plan, or are you coming up with another plan besides the one that we have?
No, that is still the guiding document. We had to prioritize. and getting things like the website done, the center rebranded, those took effort that took a little bit away from the actual sit-down strategic planning on each of the, let's look at churches, let's look at religious institutions. Instead of looking at each one of those and developing an attack plan on how to go attract each one of those, they had to spend time filling the conference center, getting the things done that were going to put the foundation in place to now go do each one of those. And remember, this is still just 10 months from December when it was adopted, December 19th last year. So we feel like a lot has happened in the last 10 months, including a complete turnover in those key staff members.
Okay, so is there a plan you're implementing now, let's say for churches? What have you done for churches so far?
What have I done for church?
Well, from the marketing plan point of view, because that was one segment, was churches.
Well, and there were many. And what they've begun doing is looking at each of those and summing up kind of the starting point to begin that strategic plan for each one of those. And I don't know how keep in mind, strategic plans are a wonderful thing, but sometimes they can send you down a lot of busy work. Not that that one does that, but there are some of those you may not need a folder for how to attract religious institutions to the city of Granbury. You may have a salesperson that's been there, done that. You may have some experienced people in the departments that understand what they need to do. That doesn't mean they don't still need to develop a procedure or a planning document, but it may be one page of what you need to think about when you're going out and trying to attract those. It's not a binder necessarily for each one of these that you create and spend hours doing that just sit on a shelf. In reality, we don't want that. We want to be booking this conference center, and we're going to do everything possible to make sure that happens and that these numbers continue to grow.
So, for example, for churches, have we sent any mailers out to all the churches around that we have a place for them to come and have their conference?
I'd have to check that. I don't know if we've done specific mail-outs like that at this point.
Okay.
But we can find out and let you know.
Council, any more questions or concerns for Michael or Chris or staff?
Thank you.
Thank you. That item was a discussion item, and we'll close that discussion. At this time, I'll now like to declare that the Granbury City Council is convened in open session. At this time, all members are present. The City Council will now go into closed session pursuant to our provisions of the Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in this following section, Section 551071, consultation with our attorney, Section 551072, deliberation regarding real property, and Section 551087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. We now go into executive session. In the open session, there was no action taken in executive session. Council, have you any more discussion? If no further discussion, the council meeting is adjourned.